You got a problem listening, or you just think this don't apply to you?
My hands are up. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I see that now after all that attitude.
I didn't view attitude.
It's real calm now, huh?
You don't walk into my town acting like you run it.
The town had a reputation most people ignored. Travelers passed through, got what they needed, and kept moving. No one expected to become part of a police report. But on that day, one stop at a gas station turned into a shooting, and days later, the people involved would realize they had picked the wrong man to target. Stay with this one till the end, and if you want more real stories like this, make sure you're subscribed. Late afternoon traffic moved steadily along the highway cutting through Pueblo, Colorado. Most drivers didn't stop unless they had to. The gas station just off the exit wasn't anything special. Faded signage, 2 working pumps on one side, a small convenience store with tinted windows that made it hard to see inside. A dark gray sedan pulled in and came to a stop at Pump 3. Marlon Barlow stepped out, scanning the area once. Not nervous, just observant. Years in the military made that automatic. He was in his early 40s, composed, built like someone who still trained regularly. No uniform, just a plain shirt and jeans, passing through same as anyone else. He inserted his card, started fueling, and kept his attention loose. Traffic, movement, people. Nothing unusual at first. Inside the store, the clerk, Lydia Vosk, paused longer than necessary, watching him through the glass. Outside, a man leaning against a pickup glanced over, then looked again. It wasn't loud, it wasn't obvious, but it was there. Barlow noticed it. He didn't react. A low engine rumble cut through the moment. A sheriff's cruiser rolled into the lot, slower than needed. It didn't park right away. It circled once, like the driver was taking a look, then angled in near the pumps. The door opened. Doyle Wade stepped out first, mid-50s, heavy build, the kind of posture that came from years of wearing authority like it couldn't be questioned. His eyes were already locked onto Barlow before the door fully shut. On the passenger side, Emily Talbot stepped out, adjusting her vest, following his line of sight. She didn't ask anything. She already knew who they were there for. Wade started walking over, slow, deliberate, not in a hurry, like he had time to make a point. Barlow kept the nozzle in place, not turning yet, but fully aware now. The sheriff stopped a few feet away, looked him up and down, then spoke. Fueling up or just hanging around? The question sat there for a second, unnecessary and already loaded. Marlon Barlow didn't rush his response. He turned his head slightly, just enough to acknowledge the voice without giving the sheriff more than that. "Getting gas," he said, calm, straight. Doyle Wade gave a small nod like he'd expected that answer, but his expression didn't change. He stepped closer, boots scraping lightly against the concrete, eyes moving from Barlow's face down to the car, then back again. "Yeah," Wade muttered, "that's what it looks like." It didn't sound like agreement. On the other side, Emily Talbot shifted her weight, arms resting near her vest. She glanced at the pump, then at the car, then back to Barlow. "Out-of-state plates," she said, not even trying to lower her voice. "Figures." Barlow let that pass. The pump clicked softly as fuel continued flowing. He kept one hand on the nozzle, steady. Wade took another step in, closing the gap just enough to make it uncomfortable. "Where you headed?" asked Wade. "East," Barlow replied. "East where?" Barlow looked at him now, direct but not aggressive. "Just passing through." Wade's jaw tightened slightly. That answer didn't sit right with him. "Passing through," he repeated, like he didn't believe it. "Passing through in every town on your way, or just this one?" There it was. Not a real question, just pressure. Barlow kept his tone even. "Needed gas." Emily let out a quiet scoff, shaking her head like she'd already made up her mind. Funny how that works. People always need gas right where they don't belong. Barlow didn't respond to that one. He turned his attention back to the pump, watching the numbers climb. Wade followed his gaze, then leaned slightly to the side, trying to catch a better look inside the car through the window. "Are you alone?" asked Wade. "Yes. Mind if I take a look in the vehicle?" That came too fast. No reason given. Barlow didn't move. "I do mind." There was a pause, short but heavy. Emily looked over at Wade, a faint smirk forming like she was waiting for this exact moment. Wade straightened up slowly, eyes narrowing just a bit. "Mind?" he repeated. "You got something in there you don't want us seeing?" "No," Barlow said. "I just don't consent to a search." The tone stayed controlled, but firmer now. That shift landed. Wade's expression changed. Not loud, not explosive, just colder, more focused. He took one step closer, close enough now that Barlow could smell the stale coffee on his breath. "Let me explain something to you," Wade said quietly. "You don't get to come through here and decide how things work." Emily let out a short laugh under her breath. "Yeah," she added, "this isn't one of those places." The pump clicked, fueling complete. Barlow removed the nozzle, slow, deliberate, but he didn't break eye contact this time. Wade noticed that, and this time, he didn't like it. "Go ahead," Wade said, voice tightening. "Finish up. We're not done here." The tension didn't drop. It shifted, and it was about to get worse. "We're not done here." The words hung there as Marlon Barlow placed the nozzle back into the pump. He didn't rush, didn't react the way Doyle Wade seemed to expect. Barlow closed the fuel cap, steady hands, controlled movements. Wade watched all of it. That calm, it was starting to irritate him. "Turn around," Wade said. Barlow looked at him. For what? Emily shifted slightly behind Wade, already watching Barlow like she was waiting for him to step out of line. "You heard him," Emily Talbot said. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Barlow didn't move. "Am I being detained?" That question landed differently. Wade's face tightened, just enough to show it got under his skin. "You're being asked to cooperate," Wade replied. "That's not the same thing," Barlow said. There was no attitude in his voice, just clarity. Wade took a step forward, now fully inside Barlow's space. "You got a problem following instructions?" Wade asked. "No, I just don't follow unlawful ones." Emily let out a sharp laugh, shaking her head. "Oh, here we go. One of those." Wade glanced at her, then back at Barlow, eyes narrowing. "You a lawyer now?" Wade asked. "No." "Then don't try to act like one." Barlow didn't respond to that. He reached into his pocket slowly, pulling out his ID. That movement triggered something. Wade's hand immediately dropped toward his belt. "Hey, slow," Wade snapped. Barlow paused mid-motion. "I'm getting my ID." "I didn't tell you to reach for anything," Wade said, voice sharper now. Emily stepped to the side, giving herself a clearer angle. "Keep your hands where we can see them," she added. Barlow held the wallet up slightly. "You asked who I was. I'm showing you." Wade stared at it, but didn't take it. Instead, he circled slightly, like he was searching for something that wasn't there. "Step away from the car," Wade said. "Why?" Barlow asked. Wade stopped moving. That word, why, hit his ego again. "You ask a lot of questions, and you're not giving answers," Barlow replied. Another pause, this one heavier. A pickup truck rolled slowly past the station entrance, the driver glancing. Inside the store, Lydia Vosk had moved closer to the window, watching more openly now. Emily folded her arms slightly. "He's getting comfortable," she said, not even lowering her voice. "Real comfortable." Wade nodded once, like he'd made a decision. "All right, let's make this simple." He stepped in again, closer than before. "Turn around, hands behind you." Barlow didn't move. "I'm not doing that," Barlow said. Wade's expression hardened instantly. "Not doing it?" Wade repeated. "No, because you haven't told me why I need to do it." That was it. The last bit of patience Wade had, gone. His posture changed, shoulders tighter, jaw locked. Emily shifted again, now fully alert, eyes locked on Barlow. Wade leaned in slightly, voice lower now, but more aggressive. "You think this is a debate?" he said. "You think you're in charge here?" Barlow met his stare. "No, I'm not going to be treated like I've done something wrong when I haven't." That answer didn't calm anything. It did the opposite. Wade took a step back, not to disengage, but to escalate. Wade took that step back, creating just enough space to change the tone completely. His hand dropped to his belt, not resting, gripping. Marlon Barlow saw it immediately. His posture didn't change, but his attention sharpened. Every movement from this point mattered. "You're making this a lot bigger than it needs to be," Barlow said. His voice stayed controlled. That only made it worse. Doyle Wade let out a short breath through his nose, shaking his head like he was done being patient. "No," Wade said. "You did that the second you decided you weren't going to listen." "That's not what happened," Barlow replied. Wade ignored that. His grip tightened. "Turn around," Wade snapped again, louder now. "Last time I'm saying it." Barlow didn't move. "I haven't broken any law," he said. Emily shifted slightly behind Wade, her tone sharper now. "You don't get to decide that," Emily Talbot said. "You don't come through here and start telling us how things work." Barlow glanced at her briefly, then back at Wade. "I'm not telling you anything," he said. "I'm standing here minding my business." Wade laughed, short, forced, irritated. "Yeah, that's what you think you're doing." His hand moved. In one motion he pulled his weapon free, not in a controlled draw, fast, emotional. The shift was immediate. Emily didn't step in. She didn't tell him to slow down. Instead, she angled slightly to the side, watching closely, like she wanted to see what he'd do next. Barlow's eyes dropped to the weapon, then back at Wade. He didn't flinch, but his voice changed, firmer now. "There's no reason for that," Barlow said. Wade raised the gun slightly, not fully aimed, but high enough to make the message clear. "You don't get to tell me what there's a reason for," Wade said. That edge in his voice, it wasn't control anymore, it was ego. "You think you're above this, walking in here like you own the place, ignoring instructions?" "I didn't ignore anything," Barlow cut in. "You escalated this." That did it. Wade stepped forward again, weapon still in hand, closing distance fast. "Say that again," he said. Barlow didn't back up. "You escalated this." Emily let out a quiet laugh behind Wade. "Wow, he really doesn't get it." Wade shook his head, almost smiling now, but there was nothing calm about it. "Look at you," Wade gestured slightly with the gun. "You're not in a position to argue with me." He tilted the weapon just a little, careless, loose. "You're not in a position to argue with me," he added. Barlow's voice stayed level. "And you're not in a position to point that at me without cause." Another step forward, too close now, too tight. Wade's finger shifted along the trigger, not disciplined, not controlled. Emily didn't say a word, didn't move, didn't stop him. The space between them shrank to almost nothing. Wade leaned in slightly, voice low, aggressive. "Maybe you need to learn how things work out here," he said. Barlow held his ground. "Or maybe you need to act like this is your job." That was the moment, the line that pushed it over. Wade's grip tightened, his balance shifted slightly forward, and the gun went off. The sound cracked through the lot, sharp, immediate, wrong. For a split second, nobody moved. Then Marlon Barlow staggered. His body reacted before his mind could. His hand dropped toward his side, and his knees buckled slightly as he tried to stay upright. The impact forced the air out of him. Not a scream, not a shout, just a strained breath. Wade froze. The gun was still in his hand, still raised, like even he didn't expect it to go off. "What?" Wade muttered, stepping back half a pace. Barlow dropped to one knee. That's when everything broke. "Yo, he shot him!" a voice yelled from across the lot. The man by the pickup, Evan Rourke, pushed himself off the truck, already pulling his phone out. His voice was loud now, panicked. "You just shot him, man!" Inside the store, Lydia Vosk rushed toward the door, stopping just short of stepping outside. Her eyes locked onto Barlow, then the gun, then back again. Emily moved first, but not toward Barlow. "What did you do?" Emily Talbot said under her breath, stepping closer to Wade, her tone low but sharp. "It was... Wade stammered, shaking his head like he could reset what just happened. "He moved." Barlow was on the ground now, one hand pressed tight against his side. Blood was already starting to show through his shirt. His breathing was controlled but strained, trained instinct kicking in. "I didn't..." Barlow started, then stopped, focusing on staying conscious. Wade lowered the gun slowly, like the weight of it had suddenly changed. "Get on the ground," Wade shouted suddenly, louder now, like volume could fix it. "Get on the ground now!" Barlow was already down. That didn't matter. Evan's voice cut back in. "He is on the ground! You shot him!" Emily looked around quickly, noticing the phones now, at least 2 people recording. "Call it in," she said to Wade, quieter, controlled. "Now." Wade didn't move for a second. Then finally he reached for his radio. "Dispatch." His voice cracked slightly. He cleared it. "Dispatch, officer involved. We've got a suspect down. Possible weapon." "There was no weapon!" Evan shouted again, stepping closer but keeping distance. Barlow shifted slightly, trying to adjust pressure on the wound. His face tightened, but he stayed focused, eyes open, tracking everything. "Stay still," Bark barked, pointing again, not firing but still holding control like he hadn't lost it. Emily crouched slightly now, finally looking at Barlow, but her expression wasn't concern, it was calculation. Sirens started in the distance, faint at first, then getting closer, fast. The entire scene had changed in seconds, but the tension hadn't gone anywhere. It had just turned into something else. And now there were witnesses and cameras and a version of events Wade was already trying to control. The sirens got louder, closing in fast. Red and blue lights washed over the gas station as 2 patrol units and an ambulance pulled in almost at the same time. The scene was no longer quiet, no longer controlled. Voices overlapped, doors slammed, radios crackled. Paramedics rushed straight to Marlon Barlow. "Gunshot wound, right side, he's conscious," one of them said, dropping to a knee. Barlow's hand was still pressed against his side, steady pressure, controlled breathing. He didn't panic, even now he was managing it. "Stay with me, sir," the paramedic added. "I'm here," Barlow replied, voice tight but clear. Across the lot, Doyle Wade was already talking, fast, clipped, trying to take control of the narrative before it got away from him. "He reached," Wade said to the first responding officer. "Wouldn't comply. I gave clear commands." That officer glanced past him, at Barlow, at the witnesses, at the phones still recording. The story wasn't lining up already. "He didn't reach for anything," Evan Rourke cut in, stepping forward again. "You pulled that gun for no reason." "Step back," Emily snapped immediately, moving between them. Emily Talbot kept her voice firm, but her eyes flicked toward Wade, checking him, backing him. "Sir, you need to step back," she repeated. Evan didn't move right away. "There's cameras. All of this is on camera." That landed. Inside the store, Lydia Vosk was already on the phone, voice low, urgent, repeating what she saw to someone on the other end. Back outside, the paramedics lifted Barlow onto a stretcher. "You're gonna be all right," one of them said. Barlow didn't answer that. His focus shifted briefly, not to Wade, not to Emily, but to the officers now arriving, the shift in tone, the change in control. He knew this part. He'd seen scenes like this before, just not from the ground. The ambulance doors shut. Then it was gone. For a moment, the lot felt different, quieter, but heavier. An officer approached Wade again. "We're gonna need your weapon." Wade hesitated, just for a second, then handed it over. Emily stood nearby, arms tight across her vest, watching everything, saying nothing now. The confidence from earlier, gone, replaced with something else. By that evening, the footage had already started circulating. Clips, angles, voices, not the full story, but enough. And by the next morning, people outside of Pueblo, Colorado were asking questions, serious ones. Because the man in that video wasn't just some traveler passing through, and it didn't take long for the truth about Marlon Barlow to reach the people it mattered to most. Once it did, everything changed. Once the name got out, the tone of the entire case shifted. Marlon Barlow wasn't just another man passing through town. He was a U.S. Army commander with years of service, multiple deployments, and a record that carried weight far beyond Pueblo, Colorado. By the second day, military officials were already involved. By the third, they were on the ground. A black SUV pulled into the same department lot where Doyle Wade had reported for years without question. That changed the moment Major General Silas Rendon stepped out. No raised voice, no threats, just presence. "What happened out there?" Rendon asked, standing across from the department's leadership. No one answered right away. Because by then, the footage had been reviewed. Multiple angles, civilian recordings, body cam. And they all showed the same thing. No weapon, no threat, no justification for drawing a firearm, let alone firing it. Wade's original statement didn't hold. Not against video, not against witnesses, and definitely not under scrutiny. Within a week, he was suspended. Within 2, he was formally charged. Emily Talbot wasn't cleared either. Her presence, her words, her failure to intervene, all of it was part of the investigation. She wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, but she had stood there and let it happen. That mattered. Months later, the courtroom was packed. Media lined the walls. Locals filled the seats. Some came to support, others to see how it would end. Adrielle Cormack didn't raise her voice as she presented the case. She didn't need to. The footage spoke clearly enough. Frame by frame, the jury watched it unfold. The approach, the tone, the escalation, the moment control was lost. Wade sat through all of it, expression tight, posture rigid, but the confidence he carried at that gas station never came back. The defense tried to argue pressure, misinterpretation, split-second decisions, but the timeline didn't support that. The behavior didn't support that, and the jury saw it. The verdict came back clear: guilty. Sentencing followed. 20 years. No badge, no authority, no control over the outcome this time. Just consequences. Outside the courthouse, cameras followed every step as Wade was taken into custody, not as a sheriff, but as a convicted man. And miles away, still recovering, Barlow was briefed on the outcome. He didn't celebrate, didn't react much at all, because for him, the damage had already been done. If you made it this far, you already know, stories like this don't start with violence. They build into it, and when authority goes unchecked, the outcome is never accidental. Subscribe for more stories where the full truth gets told. No shortcuts, no excuses.